take you to our gymnasium first, then we'll work our way around the perimeter of the bottom floor and then upstairs.
Anything you got ideas about capital improvements to it?
Yes, I will be pointing some things out. So our gymnasium, our Aspire program is taking place right now in the gymnasium. So just take a quick look. Hey guys.
Your dad's here, so will you start cleaning up your stuff?
But this is our gymnasium. It's a great little gym. The school sings here every week, and many phys ed classes. It's being used all day long. And behind this curtain is a stage, which comes out. So we'll do school plays and performances on our stage as well.
You don't eat in here, though, right? The kids eat in their
We
classroom?
eat breakfast in here.
Okay.
So every morning we have these tables that come out, and we'll have about 80 kids eating breakfast. And then we have to clean them real quick for our first phys ed class. So it's quite a procedure.
Nope, but you do need a paper. Let's go ahead again.
Yeah, need a little crowd scene here.
So the bottom floor of Green Street School is essentially a horseshoe, which serves our kindergarten through second grade classrooms. So this wing right here, we have 2 first grade classrooms. So this is one of our most up-to-date classrooms in the building. This carpet was installed over the summer. When I walked through the building this summer, there was just about every carpet in the building I had concerns about. And we were able to redo 5 classrooms in the short period of time. So this is one of the rooms that we did. It's one of the 2 classrooms that we have with an interactive board. So there's a smart board in this first grade classroom. Another first grade classroom, which you can see the differences. It's not quite the same in terms of quality. This carpet, you'll notice a big rip right down the middle. This is one of the ones we wanted to identify this summer, but didn't have the funds or time to do it. We did purchase a projector for all the classrooms on the bottom floor. So those will be installed in each classroom wall by the winter break.
What would they project?
Anything that you have on your computer. Yeah, so they'll be permanently attached to the wall with all the wiring, and then the next phase would be to replace a regular whiteboard with an interactive board. So this school year we've been able to do that in every classroom, which gets us essentially 2/3 of the way to an interactive room. So then working our way down the hall, we have 2 kindergarten classrooms in the main hallway. Again, this is another room, like some poor carpet that would need to be replaced over time. And again, we would want to add a projector to that wall. Some of our challenges at Green Street is small classrooms, so storage is something that we're constantly trying to be creative with.
How many kids are in this classroom?
13 right now. Well, last year this room had 20. We are a PBIS school, which means we try to come together as a community very regularly. Our first celebration we had as a school, we put together this mural. So we focused on like a rainforest, geckos live in a rainforest. So every child in the school has a piece of artwork that's incorporated into this mural. We have another celebration coming up before the winter break, and the idea is to take this down and replace it with another creative artwork where every child is embedded within the art. So that's something that will be coming soon. Our Student Senate is really taking on Project Feed the Thousands right now. We're doing a lot of work in that area and trying to get out into the community to do some community service at the food bank, at the fill the bus event at the end of December. We have a goal as a school to collect 1,000 pounds of food. We are currently at 365 pounds. So hopefully we'll reach our goal by in the next 2.5 to 3 weeks. And again, our guiding principle is to be safe, respectful, and responsible. And we are the geckos.
How did that come about? Why is Green Street a gecko?
Years ago, I think it was probably about 12 years ago, the Student Senate actually took on the project of wanting to create a mascot for the school. And it was a school vote, and the gecko won. It was just the time when the Geico commercials were really coming out, so the hell. So you got another kindergarten room, then I'll show you our 2 second grade classrooms. Fairly similar to the other kindergarten room. We do have a projector you can see right there in the box, which will be installed on this board within the next couple of weeks. So again, we put a major emphasis this year on getting our classrooms up to date, out of the 80s and into the current day. And again, storage, big. So this is one of our second grade classrooms. This is one of the rooms that received new carpeting over the summer. We'll be getting a projector installed, like the other rooms, within the next 2 to 3 weeks. And some of the rooms you can see have tables. What we're going to be planning to do is shifting from tables to desks and chairs to create more flexibility. Very similar to the other second grade classroom, new carpet. We'll be getting a projector installed. With desks, you have more flexibility to change things up throughout the school year. So I think this is something we're going to try to move to in all of our classrooms. It's our music room. Very standard music room. Band lessons take place in here, and vocal music lessons as well throughout the day.
We skipped the kitchen, right?
You want to see the kitchen? In kitchen.
This is the scary.
We don't cook lunches or anything like that in here, but we'll do snacks. So we'll head upstairs for our 3rd through 6th grade classrooms. Actually, where I'll start is in our learning center, okay, which is right down here.
I love art.
So this is our learning center. It's a space that I would like to make some changes to. A few years back, these half walls were added. Really has not helped in any way in terms of sound control or flexibility with spacing. You can see we have 2 office spaces which serve as both an office and a workspace for children, which are nice. But it also leaves us with special ed teacher in a hallway, which is not very functionable, and a working space in a hallway.
So what happens in these classrooms?
So these are special ed teachers. They have small groups. They do their own work in these spaces, but they also have kids coming in and out. It's filled with kids all day. So the noise control is really quite an issue.
So when they're trying to do documents and processing. they
Making a
also-
confidential phone call, you really can't do it. Having an IEP meeting, you really can't do it. There's no space for confidential meetings. So what I would like to do is actually take this space and turn it into 3 separate offices, and then mirror it on that side of the Learning Center. So the idea with this will be a hallway. These walls would come back 3 feet or so. And then the ceilings would go, the walls would go to the ceiling, and we turn this into 3 separate spaces. So this office would be essentially this window to the wall. The middle office would have both of those windows, and then the third office with that window. So we'd have 3 private offices with spaces for students that have workspaces as well. And then the idea would be to again do the exact same thing on the side.
How many teachers use this?
So in this, both 6 teachers right
6 teachers?
Yeah. And many children
Yeah, do you have the percentage of kids from your school? that
who are
actually-
in this space. I don't have an exact percentage, but it's not just kids on IEPs. We have all kinds of kids working in here. We try to be as creative as possible with each different math and literacy block and different themes that we're working on. So, this hallway will bring us around the school, the top half of the school, and we'll start in the 6th grades. So this is a 6th grade classroom. Over the summer, every classroom on this floor we added, I've been talking about this projector. So this is what will be in every classroom. So it has the projector, and then it has all of the wiring right here. So you can hook up your computer, your document camera. We have small classrooms. It eliminates having to pull something out, move desks to put it onto the wall. So every classroom up here, we did that over the summer. And the goal is to have every room like that. This is one of our only other classrooms with an interactive board.
How old is this building?
1924.
All right. Oh, there we go.
Wow.
Good solid doors.
I like the doors a lot.
So again, this was one of the rooms we put a new carpet in over the summer. Ideally, this is the kind of room that we have in all of our classrooms. More updated technology on the board, a nice setup for a document camera, teacher computer. You get the web at your fingertips, and it really adds to the dynamic of the classroom.
So it would be easy to install a smart board for all of the classrooms that actually have the projector?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yep. 2/3 of the job is done. It's just putting the actual board on. All the
Okay.
wiring is done. Yep. With the boards themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then working our way back down the hall, we have 2 5th grade classrooms. This is one of our 5th grade classrooms. Again, that technology was installed this summer. I like the idea of desks. It creates more flexibility and creativity and changing things up throughout the year.
Mark, you may have said, what does it take to do a carpet within these classrooms?
Let's see. Trying to do the math in my head. I think
What's
it's
this?
probably about $3,000 per classroom. Yeah.
These look,
25 to $3,000.
these look older than some of the ones downstairs.
Yes, this is old for sure.
And how come you want carpet? I know Academy doesn't have much carpet, but
The problem with Green Street is we are on top of each other.
so
As it is now, what you hear up here is pretty prevalent down there. Without the carpet, it would really create a noise issue.
The Academy has a moisture thing related to their subfloor.
That's all right. I want that in my own house.
So this room the carpet was redone. As you can see, the building needs a lot of sprucing out. The paint is old. But another thing I'd really like to do in the building on the short term is to spruce up our hallways in terms of providing a better color, just to create a better environment. Our ceilings haven't been touched in probably 20 years. This was a closet that we turned into a teacher and workspace. It's actually been a great project that was done. Yeah. But again, just trying to maximize all the space we got.
Store everything in the halls and using the closets for classrooms.
Yeah. This is a third grade classroom.
So we're ready. Good morning and happy Thursday.
Yeah, she's a teacher. She's great. This is really nicely set up classroom.
What grade? Like fourth?
This is third grade.
Third.
We can see this is that old carpet that we replaced. We got seam issues everywhere. This is our second third grade classroom. You can see, I mean, clearly you can see this is what all those rooms that I replaced over the summer.
I like the rug. Cool rug.
And again, that projector was installed over the summer as well. So to end the tour, I'll show you our last two classrooms. It's one of our fourth grade classrooms. Kind of a mismatch of desks and tables. Vermont projects. Classroom is right next door. The nice thing is our two of each grade are right next to each other, so it provides for a really nice collaboration in most classes. Oh, it was on a sensor. This is our other fourth grade classroom. This is a teacher who desperately wants a desk, so we're going to get this for her next year. She's new to the school. So,
Don't throw away the tables.
great old building, a lot of great character. You know, our challenges are tight quarters and storage. So those are things that we're working on. And then just updating and sprucing it up. One of the challenges of this school and other school space as well is this is where we serve lunch in our front hallway. So this turns into tables set up and food that's brought in. But it's a challenge structurally in organizing your schedule to send 230 kids through this front hallway where it's not interrupting, the flow of the school.
Okay. So, I think we've reviewed, prioritized, and established desired outcomes. We're on the agenda, and Ron's just reminded Frank is trying to be down here at 6 for the budget. So
Oh, great.
if we can keep moving along, that would be good. So, approval of the minutes and the warrants. Any questions on the minutes?
The only question I had was I thought Ron wanted the self-assessments returned tonight, not the 9th. It's the 9th, we don't have a meeting.
Oh, right.
That would be a good point.
Yeah.
Is that what the minutes are?
December 9th. December 9th.
That might have been me.
So I guess, Jane, if we can note that for the corrections, it would be the 3rd. Right? Do you have them all?
So you go to you.
I don't have them.
The superintendent, your assessment, Ron, or the?
Yeah.
Yeah, the
I thought both
VSBA goes to you,
assessments.
right? Oh, right, the VSBA assessments would come
Yeah.
to me. Is there anything about the superintendents?
Is the superintendent one not coming back right now too?
It was.
I thought both.
I thought both were due right
The
now.
school board assessment and the
Yeah.
superintendent.
Okay, so we need to remind ourselves of that apparently. So then, with that change to the minutes, do we have a motion to approve the minutes and the warrants?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right.
5 items, just like that.
What's that?
Knocked off 5 items, just like that.
So I guess we'll jump right into the three of you. Just remind, and four of you. That we, all right, 5. So if you want to be done in 20 minutes, that gives you, what, 4 minutes?
Seems like there's some
Start the
things on
clock, Tim.
early ed services that we need to confirm.
We need to get approval
Oh,
to
yes.
submit the
Yes.
refunding
Yes, why don't
application.
we do that?
So,
So Brenda Howe, our fiscal coordinator, prepared a total agency budget for you, which is really a good, I think, a good idea. What's coming around is an overview of the entire fiscal picture for EES, and the first 2 columns show you the piece that I'm going to really focus in on, which is the Early Head Start and Head Start application. This, the total amount that we will be submitting a request for is the combination of the first 2 columns, and by my calculations, come to $2,568,450. And this is actually a representation of what we would consider level funding at this point. Now, there may be new funding that comes out in the spring. We'll wait to see. But our submission is fairly consistent with what we're doing now, and this does include all of the funds that were reinstated with our sequestration reinstatement, and includes our new Early Head Start classroom that should be opening in February. The changes to the scope of our work are fairly small. Basically, we are looking to contract out our remaining bus route, which exists in Westminster, and hopefully tag on to the district bus contract and go be part of that bidding
so
process.
this district's contract, even
Yes.
though that would be in Bellows Falls,
Yes.
right? What you're talking about?
Yes, we've spoken with First Student a number of times because we in fact may need to do something sooner because we're losing our bus driver and we're not having very much luck at finding another person. So they do cover that community. So we're going to continue talking with Ron and Frank about including that bus route in the whole bidding process. We have to bid regardless, so it's just, I think, just makes more sense to toss that in the ring. It's part of the big plan. We had hoped to eke out enough money for a cook, a part-time cook for our Westminster site, because now we have 3 classrooms there that we will be providing services for. But at this point, we do not. And so I have written in the grant the idea that we will be looking for funding to create that position. And we're hoping that those opportunities might present themselves in the next year, which is fine. We have a plan for providing snacks and meals to 8 infants and toddlers from the time we open in February until next fall. And of course, a classroom with infants and toddlers doesn't require a whole lot of feeding, and some of the children are actually still drinking formula or breast milk, so that's not a big challenge for us at this point. Other than that, I can say that in pulling the community needs assessment together to support our 3 overarching goals, I have spent a lot of time talking with the local school district special education directors, office staff, to get a picture of what the kindergarten readiness piece really looks like. And I can only say that it's, when I speak with people to the west and to the north of us, the story is the same, that more and more challenges are presenting themselves when children enter kindergarten. They're really coming with significant behavioral challenges, and families are more stressed. Parents are struggling more to be parents, and to actually instill the whole idea of going to school or being ready for school with their child, because their ideas about what it is to be school ready are outdated, and they are really stressed and so not able to really give the support that the children need. And of course that's playing out in our classrooms and creating more challenge for the work that we do. I did talk in the grant about the need to really scaffold our teaching staff in particular, so that we can keep the turnover low and the spirits high, and give the teachers all that we can to help them really support these very vulnerable young children. So I need your approval to submit the grant. We were given a 2-week extension because we had some extenuating circumstances occur at EES that took most of my time for a good part of the month of November. And the application is due on the 12th of December, and I would entertain your support in submitting for the total amount of $2,568,450.
And just a question, Policy Council would normally see this first, but since the meeting dates are different, so Policy Council will see it next week.
They will see it next, and so what I'm going to do is actually do an email vote sometime before the submission date next Friday. Yes, the process should be that Policy Council gives their approval first.
That doesn't really mean.
I mean, you're really, aligned in the, and it isn't that you're unaware of it, because it's certainly,
It's something we found.
yeah.
So motion to approve the submission for this budget as outlined for EES for the grant process.
Go ahead.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. Okay.
Who seconded?
Dave, there's some.
It's going to be one or the other.
Oh, that's right. Mark's not here.
Anything else you want?
I need Jill to sign where I put the paper.
Okay.
Anything else you want in your administrative report? Any update on the contract, on the space renovation?
I have not been out to see the space because I've been very consumed by this and other issues, but I get very regular reports from Scott McCusick, our clerk of the works, and I have been involved in selecting colors and flooring tiles and carpeting, and it's moving along swimmingly well. The Brattleboro Rotary Club is actually going to be doing the painting sometime in January. So I think we're on schedule and things are going very well.
And just to point out, we're always looking for in-kind, and the in-kind requirement is the $642,000,
Yes, thank you.
and
Yes.
the Rotary's contribution of paint and time goes into that.
Right, that's right. Thank you for bringing that up, Brenda. Wanted to make sure that we noted that. That's a lot of money to raise. And it becomes increasingly more challenging as the feds kind of tighten up on the reins of allowing or disallowing things that we've been using in the past.
Okay, passing it on to Jen.
Okay. While I pass around the data for the month, just a couple of highlights. Last we met, we are having a harvest dinner the next night. Went well. I don't have the exact numbers yet, we're still tallying, but when I did a quick survey of the classrooms, we had 50% or more of parents showing up in these classrooms. So we had a curriculum night for science, and then we followed it up with a harvest dinner. So some families came for both, some came for half, one or the other. So this is a really great community event. I'll get those numbers as part of title. I'll bring those here. Winter sports, we're starting our winter sports organization. I'm sure all the schools are jumping into high gear. We had our Mount Snow meeting last night, making a change this year that students at Oak Grove have not gone full day at Mount Snow, and this year they are going to.
Full day?
Full day. We pay the same price. They only get to go 3 times. So we've decided that they're gonna take advantage of the whole day and go leave school at 9 and get home at 5, so. Would you like to chaperone? And also, I'll speak more to this next board meeting, but we are preparing for our winter carnival, which is something we started last year, a new tradition at Oak Grove that the basis of is which we celebrate something this year's theme is Candyland. But what we are doing is the older kids develop the carnival and invite the youngers and take responsibility for the younger kids throughout the day and do all sorts of activities in small groups with their teachers, and then developing those activities with the younger kids, and then we have the culminating carnival the day before we go to holiday break. So it's really cool, and we're trying to get, one of our goals this year is to get more and more parents involved. So stay tuned, there'll be more. And tomorrow night, if you're around, we have our band and music concert at Oak Grove at 6 o'clock. And that's probably enough. Your data?
Yeah.
Great. We had 2 students move out. There'll be a third since as of this week, which is a lot. I just want to point out, and the other child will show up on next because he or she left the first week in December. But of those 3 children, 2 were brand new to us this year, and the third was new to us last year. So they've come and gone already when you think about your population in Brattleboro. So that's it. If you under 4?
Probably.
Okay. I could keep talking, but be good.
Coming around our monthly report. Well, that's coming. I will share with you a couple of noteworthy things. The Academy School Community Night is December 10th, next week, and that's from 5 to 7. Lots of events that night. Essentially, one of the main events, of course, is that's our culmination of our annual fundraiser, which all the proceeds go to for our field trips. All the grade levels share in that money, and that provides the funding for all school field trips. We have a basket raffle, which all the winners will be drawn on that evening. Also, we have butter braid purchases. Butter braids will be delivered that night. We have an open gym. We also have food for families. And there'll be other events going on in the school on December 10th from 5 to 7.
And the book fair.
I knew this, and look at you trying to think, what is it? You got a book fair. Can't miss the book fair. Also on that evening. Also, we're gearing up like Oak Grove and Green Street for winter sports. Winter sports at Academy is grades 4, 5, and 6. And we have 4 dates. The last 2 years we've done 4 dates, with the 5th date reserved as a makeup day for Mount Snow and other places. Don't have the final numbers on how many kids are doing what activities, but I think we may be approaching 80 to 90 kids doing the skiing at Mount Snow. We're also continuing to make breakfast changes and trying to improve the menu. We regularly discuss that. We met with Cafe Services about a week ago, and we're all working together to improve the offerings for children. And we're focusing on less sugar and more nutritious and breakfasts that have fewer carbs, less sugar, more protein.
And Jen's doing Candyland and you're
We're all working on the breakfast, actually. It's just a few.
Any 19 students are taking Chinese after school?
There's 2 groups.
That's terrific.
So the report, pretty self-explanatory. 1 student in, 3 out in the last month. And we have a 5th grade student who apparently will be joining us on Monday. So there's still a fair amount of fluctuation with families in Brattleboro.
What is the homeschooled here for math community?
So this child came to us, moved to Brattleboro this year with the intent to be homeschooled. And the mom, there's a process that as a parent you have to go through with the Agency of Education, and it gets approved. It gets approved there, but it takes a few months. So the mom enrolled the student at Academy while she pursued that process. She's now been approved, and she'll be homeschooled. With the exception of mathematics, she comes to us every day. Mom brings her every day for math with us. So when you homeschool a child, you still can take advantage of all the school offerings. And it can be band, it could be extracurricular, it could be any academic offering. And this mom and child decided that they wanted her to have math with us.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Martin?
So report is coming around. Just start kind of where Andy ended. And throughout the month of November, we had one student come to Green Street in 5th grade, and we've had 5 move out. A family of 3 moved to Guilford. One child moved to Dummerston, and one to North Carolina. So again, a trend with 3 schools there. Had PTO meetings this month. Focus again on winter sports. Our winter sports dates are January 14th, 21st, 28th, and February 4th. And our winter sports is essentially the whole school, with an exception to kindergarten. So it's quite a process to organize. So it takes a tremendous amount of parent volunteers and organization. And I'm really thankful for the amount of parents that we do have that just provide a tremendous amount of support to the school. So that is coming up very shortly. Looking forward to that. We also have a Make It, Take It crafts event coming up on December 13th, and that's a Saturday morning. And that'll be right here at the school. We'll have a combination of parent volunteers and Green Street staff organized at the school, working with the community to put together some arts and crafts where families can take something home to help decorate their home. Some other things I'd like to point out. Student leadership has been a tremendous focus of mine this year. We currently have 46 kids in the grades 3 through 6 who are participating in some type of student leadership. 16 student senators who are focused on Project Feed the Thousands right now, which we talked about during the tour. 16 students on our restorative justice team, and we have 14 students doing some peer mentoring. So very proud of those kids and then those programs which continue to develop over time, but definitely seeing the impact of the school from the beginning of the year till now. That's really been a nice climate change.
What are you seeing, Mark? What kinds of differences?
Just seeing kids really take ownership of their school and wanting to make a difference, and then getting experiences and seeing that they can make a difference. Just kids really seeing that working with younger kids and putting them in that position it's challenging. It can be fun. You can learn a lot, and the satisfaction of helping somebody else out. Just a couple other things to point out. Our session 2 of after-school tutoring will start on December 8th and go till February 12th. We'll have about 40 students participating in that. We've had a book fair going on this week. The book fair evening sale will be tomorrow evening till about 6:30, and then we'll end on Friday afternoon.
So then I just have one quick question for you guys. In the monthly report, we were gonna aim for putting them so they all look the same. We're getting closer, but if we could make that happen sometime, just that I could.
I think the thing is our secretaries all have.
I know, they all
their
have
own
their own,
way
that's
of
what I
doing
figured,
it,
it's probably
and,
that.
I
By
think
the
what
time
we,
it gets to that first month meeting, it's like, oh boy.
Exactly.
I think what we wanted to do, and you can see Mark did it, is add the demographic information at the top. So it looks like they're all pretty consistent in terms of the information provided. I think that's the important thing.
Although there's one thing Andy that is giving that I was going to say I like seeing. I don't like seeing. I like knowing. The homeless student number.
Yeah.
I mean, Academy, that's 5. I think that's just something for us to be aware of. If you all could put that one on.
Certainly have that.
I really like Jen's formatting. Although I'm very fond of the coloring from Mark.
The only concern I would have about the homeless, when there's a small number, it's almost self-identified.
So maybe you guys could put it down for everybody. Between the 3 of you, you could join them. Maybe that's better. But I think it behooves the town to know this. How many?
I have that information, I've just been
Right.
reluctant to include.
So put it on with Andy. I mean, put it on one big group total instead. Then we won't be somewhere.
So
And
you
and
guys
the
can figure
breakfast
that out.
thing too, you guys. I don't know if Mark is giving us breakfast information.
Yeah,
His
we
breakfast
have
is up in the upper
Up in
right
the
hand.
top. Okay.
about 80 students every day.
Okay. The Vermont and the food bank backpacks, are you all giving us that or no?
No, we do Vermont Food Bank backpacks, but our limit, I don't know how you got 52, but our limit was 50, and we give 50 every so
You hit the limit every time.
every time. And we'll, you enroll those families, and then that's what you do all.
We'll just have that down somewhere in there too. Anyway, thank you for, I don't mean to make more work, but I think it's great that we have them all. All right, Deb, throw it over your, or we start with Deb, so throw it to you.
The only thing I have before we get into the 1%, I'd like to do the board director vacancy afterwards when Mark is here. But under the SU Finance, they're meeting right now, but the Supervisory Union Board meeting that was tentatively set for December 9th, we need to change that, and we're looking at December 17th. So that would be the night of your next meeting.
Is there a reason it has to be December?
Yeah, because that budget needs to be approved, so everything that's loaded into your budget, along with all the other 6 districts, is a solid number.
That's a good reason.
So what we're thinking is, if you have your regular meeting at 5, we would break off at 6:30 and have the SU meeting.
In Brattleboro?
Right in here, right at Green Street. We'll figure out the library at that time. So I just wanted to alert you to that change.
Well, that's way better than having it next week, because I couldn't do it.
I
Yeah,
can do
and,
next
you
week.
know,
if it-
yeah.
So the 17th, we just make our
It's
school board
tentative,
meeting
but we'll
longer.
confirm it, yeah. Typically, the SU meeting takes about an hour, so, 6:30 to 7:30.
Typically, there's
7:45.
food.
Yeah, we will have food.
Oh, okay. You don't have to stay for that because you haven't been, but you could because Peter.
I'm already here.
Right.
Yeah, so
Right
it's,
there.
at that meeting, it'll be important that we know who the voting members will be for that meeting, so.
We could all be there.
Yeah.
Right, we can all come,
Right.
right? There's no,
Oh, absolutely, we encourage that, yeah.
like that change.
So then I think if we can get to the 1% applications, that would be helpful.
So you don't have anything else on a district level?
No.
Or superintendent level?
No.
And then they're just sticking to the agenda. Any committee reports? I don't have anything from policy council. Have you ever met? Energy committee, anything?
Waiting for, Frank may have something tonight, waiting to hear about the second proposal came through, was a possible heating alternative for the, Academy. And I think they're probably still processing the energy credits for solar. We haven't gotten anything definitive yet, so I think it's just still in the works.
Okay. Finance, Mark will surely have something when he's done. Or maybe nothing. Diversity have?
I actually did not go to the meeting tonight. I'm not sure if they met today. They may be meeting next week. So I'll report on that next time.
Okay. So now you wanted to skip the board director until Mark gets here and
Yeah.
we'll do 1%?
Right.
Yeah.
So in terms of the sequence of things, if we can do the 1%, I'm thinking Frank will be here pretty soon. We can do the budget, the first draft, and then we can go back to the any other items.
Let's do 1%. Let me see if we can get, if Frank isn't here, we can
Right.
get to some of them.
So you all received the packets? How do you want to proceed with this?
I remember reading them and being okay with them last time, so I guess I would open it up if we had any questions, because not everybody has had time to read them. Any questions specifically from any of your reading?
Not that, well, I have a few questions, but not about, I mean, not that would keep us from voting on it.
Well, we want to ask the questions now.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
I think it was nice to see some creative financing for a whiteboard. I think it would be better, since that is equipment, if that went into a regular budget request. I mean, I see, the funds are available, so let's use them, but the thing talks, the 1% description talks about programs. And it gives a list of things, so not to exclude anything, so we can flex it if we need to, but it really talks more about programs that people are introducing, unlike all the other proposals. So, if possible, I'd rather equipment spending in the budget request.
Yeah. We talked about that, and I think we felt like because there was money available to try to do a stopgap.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I don't know if you want to speak to that item, the rationale for it.
Sure, I mean, I think you've heard a lot about interactive whiteboards in your time.
Yeah.
This proposal, I think I included both proposals that
Yeah.
this teacher proposed last round as well, and we tabled it because for that reason, if there's money remaining, I said in the second round we would request it. She's got a great plan for how she's going to use it, for what she's going to do for PD. But, it is the kind of thing with a limited budget, figuring out how to get those resources into the classroom. But point understood, and we've talked at length about it as well.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. Then with the two math ones, they mentioned the documents that were in there were for investigations, and I thought we were in the process of identifying another math program.
Is that Green Street's application?
Yep.
Yeah.
It's the current program that we're using, and most likely we won't be shifting from investigations as an SU for another couple of years.
Okay. Great. That's
so,
all.
Yeah.
It just surprised me. I didn't know if it was just they were using older materials to show us, or what. Obviously, it takes a while to find a math program.
Right.
And then the other one, the last one, interactive science. It looks like the first grade at Green Street and Oak Grove have chosen a first grade science curriculum.
It's a curriculum that we're looking into. Okay, I believe some teachers at Academy have used it, and both our first grade teachers here at Green and Oak Grove would like to do some collaboration around looking a little further into that program and how to implement it in the classrooms.
And it obviously it aligns with Common Core,
Yeah.
and it's integrated with the other disciplines.
I think that's the exciting thing, that there's already some professional development happening now with elementary teachers, with 2 middle school teachers running the professional development on the Science Common Core standards. And so this just augments that. So I think the more professional development that we can do, and in some cases within our own staff, is really exciting.
Yeah.
And that's tied into Stephanie Moraski is the first grade teacher that's working with Green Street on this. At the close of last year, we purchased some science materials from Pearson and have been using it as a pilot too in my first, second, and third grade, and trying to figure out how much really aligns with Common Core and how we can make it next generation science standards and also age level appropriate. And so I think this is a great project that really combines a lot of good thinking from different schools.
I think bringing schools together to do some of this is really
Well, when only those two are mentioned, the one is, are these schools going to have one program, they can have another one, then what happens when the assessments come along?
Yeah, it's all based on the Common Core standards, so that's the
it
great
doesn't matter.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah, as long as it says the standards.
Yeah.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions or thoughts? So I'd entertain a motion to approve all of the 1%.
Second.
And discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
So we'll
Okay.
need signatures on these signatures.
From me only, right? Okay. All right, so then, is it okay if we jump down? Do you have preference of taking these out of order, Ron? Or just the-
Nope.
So, under new business, we had agenda items, administrative reports, discussion. And I think that one came up because we just want to make sure that what we have on our agenda accurately reflects what we're actually going to talk about. So that basically the administrative reports would be just what we did tonight. Nothing big, I guess. How else to word that?
Yeah, it's hard, I mean, I've been trying to figure out some way to categorize it, and I really couldn't come up with anything except that if it's something that someone in the community or in the public might want to know ahead of time so they could come and participate in the conversation, it should be on the agenda. I don't know how you determine what that is or how those work.
Yeah, I mean, I think you'd have to, at this meeting, identify that for the following meeting. I'm always concerned that between meetings, we're seeing emails and things get added to the agenda, which I really don't think is appropriate. Some of it might be just communications, and that's just information. But if it's a topic that somebody wants to discuss, then we really need, as a board, to identify, okay, that should be something on the agenda. And then if it's something that we want the administration to report on, that they have some time to put together a report.
So those are kind of two things, really. That's stuff that comes up, it just comes up or occurs to a board member. And then there's the side of what occurs to you guys that might be needing to be more fleshed out. I mean, the one example I think of is when we talked about actual policies or something under administrative report. I think, Ron, you had that one. And that felt like something that would go on kind of an agenda item that we're going to discuss policy.
Or anything having to do with budgets.
Right,
Yeah, certainly.
budgets would be certainly. I don't know that there's anything more than just to make sure we are aware of it. That's more why I wanted to make sure it was on the
Yeah, so
agenda.
I'm not sure if I'm clear if we've addressed the issue.
I'm trying to look back my notes to see when it came up, and I'm not sure.
What I'm remembering was one time, Ron, when you did your report, that wasn't on the agenda, was like policies and looking over a bunch of different things that felt like they were much more than just an administrative report.
Well, I think what I would recall is that it was part of the whole action planning process.
I think so.
There were some
So
of
that
those,
was the
yeah.
topic of the agenda, and so I wanted to give you background information as to what are the federal and state requirements and what are the actual procedures that we follow. So I hope it hit the agenda item.
I think it
That
came
was the
up in an
intent.
administrative report before it came up on the agenda. I think that's the...
Or, yeah, maybe the next time we did it, we put it down on the agenda or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's not really criticism as much as I just want to make sure we're clear, just in case somebody in the town wanted to specifically be here for something. So that was really, I'm going to cross that off unless there's anything else. Anybody have? We can keep moving. Communications that are received by the board and how the board's addressing items in discussion. Just want to make sure that we're all clear on that I'm not doing anything wrong. It's mostly that I wanted it on board. But if I'm receiving a communication from somebody, I'm passing it on to all the board members.
It's from someone, from the public.
And I'm copying you anytime I send anything on to any board member. So I guess the question that occurred to me is if someone sends us, any one of us, just like a follow-up from the community forum or something, and they thought they were just talking to one of us, is that a fair thing that we all, because I think you might be following that same procedure if you've received anything, but then does anybody feel like they've been thrown under the bus that they were just trying to make a private comment? So
Well, there was one that came to each of us separately.
and there was that too.
And that may have been somebody who had a sense of what the open meeting law is, so they didn't want to compromise us. I have no idea. And then I received one, so I wrote back and said, can I share this with the board? And, she said, sure. So I think probably that's, the best thing is if we get one and we think we should share it with the board, to check with the person that sent it to see if it's okay. I think the thing we have to be careful about is not to talk with each other about it on email. Yeah.
So it's kind of an FYI, getting it around,
Right.
but not responding.
We don't
And then you asked, I think, to, which I thought was good.
Oh, good.
No, it's something to go back to that individual.
Yes, to follow up and say, yes, we are discussing it, or
Right.
we are.
Without going into the specific issues, but just to confirm with that person that we received your email, we'll be discussing this in the future, on a future agenda item.
Which I guess will be another practice that I'm trying to always do, just so that people know that it's been heard.
Yeah.
It hasn't, well, I always have a fear of email, sometimes people don't see it. But now I actually have done that sometimes on my phone. I find it really easy to accidentally delete.
So all I think about is sometimes the danger of, and it's okay that you ask me some background information because you should have that information, but it doesn't become like a conversation, an email conversation with all the board members.
Then we go into open meeting laws that are wrong. Okay, then I think we're all clear. We gotta make sure. Cranking along. Grant approval we already did. Budget we're waiting. Next, we're only on to a next agenda item. Wait, that means that we're done with our agenda?
Yeah, except for the money that.
Except for the budget that we're waiting. So do you want to send anything around without Frank?
Yeah,
Mark?
let's do that. No,
Or do you want to talk, do you want to do the board director vacancy without
I
Mark?
really don't without Mark.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you want me to go?
You could see where he's, yes.
Was there, before we leave, Dick, I was gonna say, it's not on the agenda, but I think we mentioned it to be put on here, to follow up the last community forum. Was there any feedback or any thoughts? We didn't see that. Anyone had? That we should discuss, is there anything there? I know we did receive, that principals probably haven't seen, that we shared to the board a couple of comments from folks that had some follow-up questions and some compliments and some critiques on whether they got their questions answered and felt like there was enough time for public input. Do we have one more community forum
In January?
in January, right?
Yep.
And then the March budget.
March budget, yeah.
Anyone have any thoughts on maybe we should?
It seemed like there's a lot of information presented, but there's plenty of time for people to ask questions, and people stayed around and talked individually with people as well afterwards.
I think we
I'm not
actually
sure-
quit 15 minutes earlier than what we had scheduled in case there were more questions.
I think about the only thing we could do is say, if you have a question, ask, don't wait, don't hesitate to ask it. Just so people know that the format, we're presenting information, but the format is open to that. I don't think there's really much else we can do.
I felt like we'd given quite a bit of time for questions.
I have a question for the board.
Yeah.
After that meeting, do you think that you understand what formative assessment is and the difference between formative and summative assessment?
Is that a quiz now?
Well, the reason because in my own mind, I thought that would be one of the goals of that forum, to explain to the board and to whoever attended or whoever watched on TV what kind of assessments we do, but what is the difference between a formative and a summative assessment? I know that, and I know from talking with you, that was a question you had asked. So just to me, it seemed really clear. I thought that process was wonderful. I just wanted to, but I know it. I just wanted to check in with the three of you to see if you had a similar.
So Andy, to be very honest, I've come in my head, I've come around to formative and summative are just words for, it doesn't matter to me as a parent. It matters more to the teacher. So I've given up on trying to identify and pick up something and say, is this formative, is this summative? Is that bad to admit? I mean, as I feel like it's not really my place to worry about it. My overarching goal was incredibly well met. As a parent, I wanted to see how are we teaching to the test? Are we really doing it? And I was very impressed by all the different types of assessment that were going on. I mean, some of this I knew as a parent, but it was really good to see more.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I
Well,
sort
that's
of
just
do
what I
it.
usually
What I was looking
like
for
Stephanie
wasn't
Rams
so much the
picture
clarity.
interactive whiteboard,
The definition is how the formative ones are used, so that people understand that the testing that's going on in the schools is like, I think Ron pointed out, 1% of it is the need
Well, I'll just
and the rest of it is to figure out if the kids have learned it or not. And if they haven't, where do you put your efforts? What's the next step with that? And that's the message. I think that came across pretty clearly. And the more you say it, and the more different ways you say it, the better. So I think in that way it was successful.
No, I completely agree. I mean, I think it definitely, it was a little more eye-opening seeing how the different types of, how the teacher is on a daily basis, putting all of those actions in place and testing the child. And parents aren't going to see that. They're not, the child's not going to come home and say, oh, I was quizzed on what I learned today, on a daily basis, and all the parents only know about the need. So it was a very, very eye-opening about that. So it was very good, informative.
I think the only thing that confusion I had was when Ron asked, raise your hand if you think you do high stakes testing, and I put my hand up because of the kneecap. And the kneecap doesn't keep kids from going from 3rd to 4th grade. It's not that kind of high stakes, but it's high stakes in terms of the sanctions and the money. And if we don't do them, we don't get our money through the state. So that's and the Secretary of Education actually used high stakes and sanctions as part of her concern with the performance thresholds that are developed.
So I'm comfortable going forward to the next community forum with basically a similar format with a presentation and time for questions. And I
Is
think
that word for you?
Well, I think, I don't have the topic, I don't have the descriptive, but I think we should take a look at that at the next meeting,
Right.
or at least in the meeting before
first meeting in January.
January, and just confirm what's the best way to present this. Because in some cases, small group discussion is good, but in like the assessment one, that would be hard to have done that.
Yes.
Yeah, that one, the third one may lend itself better. Someone who's really interested in the enrichment or really interested in perhaps a special, the STEP program, or those things that could be smaller groups if there was an interest in it.
Yeah.
So I'll put that down that we're doing E on the next agenda items, but not for next agenda with the following.
The other thing I'd like to, the letter from the secretary talked about the performance thresholds and about scale scores. And I don't know if we can get that on the agenda at some point, but tell us what that. What that.
I mean, you get that. When Paul does his information, that's the information. And when Brian presented that's what you see. So it's kind of the progress as opposed to the arbitrary benchmarks that they set. So, we'll be conscious of providing that as well again. That's typically what we will provide.
The part in this that the public has no idea, maybe principals don't know what we're talking about. There's something Ron sent around was a memorandum from Rebecca Holcomb, the Vermont Secretary of Education. And basically limitations, performance categories for supporting improvement in learning and assessing school effectiveness. But the thing that she struck me here, and it struck me when we were talking, and I don't think people just have a way of kind of getting that. But it says, setting absurd standards and then announcing massive failures has undermined public support for public schools. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And when all you do is hear about how things are failing. But if you look at this with the subgroups, it makes it so much clearer that we are actually getting so much further ahead. And you don't see that
Right.
always presented.
And I think that came up with the whole issue of morale, where it's hard, you know, we can say that you know, not high stakes, but, you know, there is that, you know, not to put anybody on the spot, because the reformer has been really good about working with us when we get those results and getting away from that failed school syndrome. But, you know, it has an impact to the staff in terms of morale. I think that's what she's addressing here. And again, I think the media has been really helpful with us to show the progress that we're making. And I'm always really proud of the fact that in a district with such a high poverty rate, that our students are outperforming the state averages. And the state average for poverty is much less than ours. So it's really a credit to the leadership and the teachers that are really doing a great job in a system that we know is not perfect. And I sent that article around because I'm really pleased that Rebecca Holton, the Secretary of Education, philosophically believes that as well. So I think that's, for some of us, that's why we live in Vermont.
So Mark, you're joining us when we have completed everything on our agenda except for 2.
Okay, those would be. One more question though about the testing formula.
Yeah.
The secretary's letter, the threshold, performance threshold, that means that the SBAC test, the test for the Common Core, is gonna, when a kid demonstrates, they're at the computer and they're going through problems, and when they hit their fourth grade, they hit the fourth grade threshold and they're proficient, does the screen go blank and they don't get any more questions?
No, it advances. So they
Paul, I don't know what the conversation was, but the email that I got was from a parent who spoke to Paul, and he said that the sense she got is that the questions would stop at that threshold.
I don't think that's accurate. Paul can explain that.
Would you?
Yeah, we can do that.
Because I'd like to be able to explain to her. They also be incredibly disappointed.
Yeah, I think actually Paul is going to speak with her.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great, thanks.
Okay, so Mark, I was telling you, we're down to board director vacancy and budget, and I believe since Frank is here, we're going to start with budget.
Yes, I brought him for show and tell.
That's good of you.
Yeah, wasn't it?
Thanks for joining us, good Frank.
Thank you.
So we all have copies.
Even Howard got to see it now, too. And none of us have looked at it at all.
Nope.
We
Right
just
through it.
got it.
This is all expenses, there's no revenue page.
At this point, I just got the expenses, yes.
That's all right.
So let me just give a little background and turn it over to Frank. But so Frank's been working really hard on all of the district budgets, including the SU budget that some of you reviewed upstairs. This is a very similar format to what we've used in the past, although there are some things that Frank has reorganized because it just makes more sense to do it that way. And so when we get to those sections, we can identify that. I think if you look back in this thing, on page 9 of 9, the total expenditures are up 1.14%. So for a first draft, that's pretty good. And the principals have been working with Frank and myself and others, looking at their draft input, putting it into an organized way, and then coming up with that first draft. So there's a lot more work to do, but we felt like this is a good starting point.
And the 1.14 includes the supervisor union increase, if there is anything, or no?
It does. It's a preliminary review because we're still working with the finance committee. And once the finance committee, the SU finance committee's work is done, then we'll feel that it's not draft.
Okay.
But yes, it doesn't include the draft as of a few minutes ago with Mark and company.
Okay.
Let me just say, based on the meeting we had for the last hour and a half, that Frank's done superlative work at breaking out the per school, per district costs. that are going to support the SU. So thank you very much for that. Okay, this one.
Okay, so a couple comments. What I see this format as a format that presents information in the functional format, which means, as you see, health, school services, transportation, those are functions, right? There is another format that we can address at some point. I didn't want to make too many changes right off the bat. Another format is the object format. Total salaries for the organization, total benefits, total services, total supplies, total textbooks, that sort of a format. So as I recall, that's the state chart of accounts and the federal National Center for Education Statistics. They require a function and an object. They also require a fund. But I, at this point, am working with the traditional formats you're accustomed to, and but I'm happy to work toward another format if it's of interest. And I remember that conversation earlier at a board meeting, so I'm happy to move toward that. Keep in mind that this is a spreadsheet, and everything is rooted in a general ledger. In the spreadsheet, we can change pretty easily. The general ledger, we can't, and yet they have to be tied to each other, right? So it's not an easy process, but it's one that we can work toward.
You're suggesting that we use that to this is what we use to talk about the budget and look at and make our decisions, but we could get that information in that other format.
Yes.
I think when you got a minute.
Yeah, yeah.
Or 17 or whatever it is.
Yeah.
I'd love to see those larger category projects.
Yep, I will work toward that. So some things that well, obviously the main thing I focused on is working with principals, identifying the staffing assumptions, because out of our $15 million budget, the majority is staffing costs. I've been immersed in the high school budget and the SU budget, so I've sort of lost my bearings on which page is our staff, and does anyone remember it? I know it's in the first couple. Oh, there we go. It is.
Yeah, the top of page 2 is the paraprofessionals.
There we go. Thank you. 2 and 3. Yeah. So at the bottom of page 1, we have teacher salaries, and we have that by building. As you see, Oak Grove, Green Street, and Academy. And just to give you a sense of what the methodology was, I started in our payroll system, exported all of our current employees to do a spreadsheet version, reviewed with our principals who's coming back, who's making a column change, who may not be coming back, and then we made those adjustments, if any. And you can see that in general, not a substantial change in staffing assumptions down there on the bottom of page 1. The salary does reflect making an assumption about next year's compensation, even though we know we don't have a settled contract. But there is an assumption in there. It's not zero. The paraprofessional on page 2 is also a significant portion of our budget, and again, we've done the same process, looking at enrollment and looking at student needs, program needs, and then principals have provided their request in sense of what we will need for next year. So those assumptions are there.
If I could make a point, you'll see that category up 87,000, but if you make a notation on your column to see page 9, and then we're going to go to page 9. So page 9 has the special ed. Top of page 9 where you see special ed schedule A, detailed service So you have the salaries that are taken out of the professional staff because they're in the SU budget now. But the paras are still in the district budgets. And so you see that line is down close to 85,000. So it's kind of, when you look at the first section along with the second, it's kind of a net. It nets that out. Now, there are some implications when we look at regular ed paras versus special ed paras, because we will get more reimbursement with the special ed paras. So in some cases, people that had been coded for special ed are really doing regular ed work, and so they need to show up in that first part of the budget. But that will impact our revenue, our reimbursement. So it's just making sure that we're coding it correctly.
That's right, yeah, and hopefully it reflects, fewer students with individualized, specialized learning plans over time. That's obviously an objective.
Is that a similar situation of what happened this year and the Green Street number is $160,000 budget and it's $264,000 actual?
Yes, are you on page 2?
Page 2?
Mm-hmm.
And that's a significant difference?
Yeah.
There?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was one that was coded, then
Yeah.
somebody had to be hired or was coded differently?
There are a couple of positions that impacts.
That's right.
Yeah.
And so as you point out, the budget is closer to the actual than it is to the proposed budget is closer to the 14 actual than it is to the 15 proposed.
Can I get a quick clarification? In the middle of, or just below the middle of page 2, other benefits, these aren't assigned to a school or an employee category. Whose benefits are those?
Those are primarily the paraeducators and the teachers, I believe.
Well, the health insurance and dental insurance are separate by school, just above that.
Oh, okay. Let me see if I follow. Oh, okay.
Page 2, about a little past halfway.
Yeah, I will have to look at that, and I don't recall what that is associated with, but the spreadsheet is got links, and I will let you know.
Other benefits underneath.
So another area that I was focused on that's a significant amount of spending is the debt commitments that we've made. They're in this budget on a couple of places. Page 1 at the bottom, we've had several building improvement initiatives over the years. The energy program, I believe, has 2 more years in the cycle.
Is that the Honeywell?
Yeah. Yes. So that first line under debt on page 1, 69,096. That is the Honeywell lease that ends March 2017. So we've got this proposed budget and one more before that is paid off. The next line that has funding in it, the 64,749. That's a 3-year note that was secured through Merchants Bank. That is scheduled for a final payment in November of 2016. So again, that's a FY17 maturity. And that was, you may remember, I believe it was several improvements throughout 3 blocks.
Yeah, that's nice.
Okay. But I did confirm that those need to be funded again this year. The other section of debt is, I think it's toward the end of this document. I will consolidate debt. I don't think there's a reason why, but on page 8, I don't think there's a reason why they're separate, and I assume you don't mind if I consolidate the debt?
Please.
Yeah, on page 8 at the very bottom. So we had the special article. I believe that was our Academy pellet project, which we know we're going forward again with a bid process. I can give you an update on that a little later if you like. Just scrolling through my documents here. Yes, so that is the pellet project. I understand it was authorized for a 5-year term. You probably know that debt hasn't actually been borrowed because we didn't have a bid award. So that's an estimate. It is possible. I am pursuing the Clean Energy Development Funding grant money that we've talked about before. It's possible that could be reduced. I hope it can be. On the other hand, I understand we need a significant amount of control upgrade, and a number of the heating and ventilation systems over this at Academy are old. So maybe we could hang on to that investment and improve more of the systems in the building than what was originally thought of. The other good news, as you probably know, is that line below that, $221,000. That is the last year of the 1994 $5 million improvement project. So I've spoken with Ron and the principals about a 5-year capital plan, and it would be very timely to have that developed, and I will work on that so that when this when this goes, it's paid off, that we do what you would normally expect. This means certain systems that were done 20 years ago have probably reached their useful life, and it's time to reinvest. So we'll bring that to you. Mark mentioned at the SU Finance, we did review a couple other fairly significant assumptions. One of them is also on that last page, the SU assessment. We're required to report special education costs on a regular basis to the page 9. I'm sorry, page 8. It's just the line above that where we were.
Okay. Yeah, thanks.
In total, you see our preliminary estimate is for the assessments to be down $55,000 or 2%. It represents the special ed services assessment, which I've broken out there from the administration and supportive instruction. So on page 8, a line above debt there, you see the Wyndham Southeast assessment. I will try to also break that out in fiscal year 15 so you can see the comparison. At this point, you just look at the total for an apples to apples. But that's that reflects a very significant amount of review of the special education program and the review of operations at the SU with Ron. And then we did go through an allocation methodology with the committee, the SU Finance Committee, and there were no concerns about using proportional enrollment for the administrative costs and a weighted average of students with IEP and total enrollment, a 60% weighting with regular ed enrollment, 40% weighting of special ed enrollment for the methodology to distribute about $8 million of special ed expenses, of which Brattleboro Town's share is $2,836,000.
So our SU assessment is down. Is the SU total budget down?
The SU total budget is pretty flat. The special ed budget is up a little bit, and the operating budget is pretty low. We do need another week for refining. There's a lot of assumptions to go over, but I think we do have a complete draft. We've got all the programs. It's now revisiting the assumptions and making sure that we're looking at students and student needs and changes in enrollment, and that we're responding to that with appropriate reasons.
Is it? Oh, I hate to ask this, but Is it difficult to compare where we are spending so far this year with where we have been in previous years, so we get a sense of how this budget's holding up?
No, it's not difficult. It is just a matter of focus. So,
That's why I was hesitant. So forget I asked it.
Don't commit to tomorrow. In the near future.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just to project out if there's any
Yeah.
potential surplus.
As I get familiar with systems, I am accustomed to having at least a quarterly financial report, but not unusual to have a monthly financial report for boards. It'll take me a little time.
That's fine.
I mean, I could print it tomorrow, but I would need time to review it and make sure that the journal entries are up to date and reconciliations.
This is not the time of year you're gonna.
It's hard to do.
But I would like that. For EES, we get
That's what I
that
was
every
thinking.
single month, and it's just a nice thing for the boards to realize when we haven't
When you
seen
get to the
it.
point where you can set it up so it's easy to do.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
And just to give you an assurance that the office staff at central office are top notch, and they're doing a great job. And they do the reconciliations, bank reconciliations routinely and promptly. The journal entries are also posted so that we do have a good sense of cash. And what I have not had time to do is where there are allocations, where there are billing requirements, I haven't had time to stay on top of that, and I wouldn't want a financial report that looks like there's a variance that really is
Isn't there? Yes,
concern
we
about.
wouldn't want it either.
But the internal controls are excellent, and the feedback on the audit that we have had undergoing right now as well is very positive. The firm, it's a new firm, Tyler Sims, has indicated they're very pleased with the preparation and the information that we've provided. So every indication is that things are in good order.
We also had an announcement from the state, I think today, that they're going to try to cap the Fed fund increase at 2 cents.
Yes, I saw that, yeah, $1 for the statewide property, because they settled at 98 cents, yeah.
I hope.
See.
Let's see if they stay there.
Yeah.
As a turtle.
So that's an overview. I'm glad to address any other questions if you might have them.
So let me just point out a few things that have come up in the past, so you can just identify them, and then we can spend more time at the next meeting if you have questions about it. I'm just going to go page by page on some of this. Yeah, so if you look at page 3 of 9, other instructional support, internet access, we thought we were going to be able to save some money on this, but because you can see the actuals were very low of $9,500, but we budgeted $2,500, so that helps with the surplus, the current surplus. Towards the bottom of the page.
Was that the new arrangement with Sovereign, where they put the
Yeah.
hub in at a gallon?
Yeah, and so what that represents is $800 a month times 3 schools, 2,400 times 12, which is the 28,800 that we have listed there. So we're looking at E-rate to see if we can get an offset with that, but you know that's an area where you look at that and it jumps out that it did for us anyway in terms of we thought we could make some savings there. Not the case. On the top of page 4, I think you remember with after-school program and tutoring, we had them in different pages. So Frank just consolidated this under Title I instruction and support. So you have those last 2 lines, after-school programs, the $35,000. There's a $2,000 increase there, and then the after-school tutoring, which is actually a $2,000 reduction of the $50,000. So it's the same money. It's just combined in the same page. So I think it's easier to refer to that.
And does all the funding for after-school programs come from Title I?
No, it doesn't. Some of it does. And so, you know, the title there in that subsection may not be the best, But I guess we said, let's put it together at least someplace, so we could work on that.
But I guess I was still hoping that if somebody says, I hate the after-school program, or we'd spend money, we don't have to do that or whatever, then we don't have that all together, and we do it that way.
But we did,
Explain it.
If somebody's sitting there looking at the budget and they say, well, it's, for example, they say it's too much money, where can we cut? Well, we have to provide during the day, but we don't have to do after-school programming, so how much does that cost us? So we don't have that really broken out if we're putting it in with Title I, because we are providing Title I during the day. And we don't have the bus in there.
No, that's in the transportation.
We got that separated out.
A couple of weeks ago, yeah. I mean, that was why, that's my only concern with putting it in with Title I. I like lumping 2 after-school programs together, but my thought in trying to look for it was identifying it if somebody came up with that.
But it's easier to cut?
It would be easier to cut, but that's why I also think we can make very strong cases that we get a lot of bang for a buck.
For the 108,000.
I mean, a lot. So, that's one of those spots where we don't have to do it. You know, people start to look at if they want to.
I mean, I think when we get into more of the details around this presentation, we'll talk about why we think we have to do it. Because quite frankly, that's where we're getting the gains in student achievement with a high poverty rate, because we've extended our day to provide these programs. And we should refer back to the BCTV tape of the forum that we did, was it October? On all of the different enrichment and services that are provided, so, yeah.
The other thing, Mark saw the same presentation I just saw upstairs with the SU financed by Brian Bentner and Lyle and Paul. And it was just remarkable to see the impact at the elementary level in literacy and math recently. And the turnaround, I guess, when this initiative started, the turnaround of the trend of proficiency in learning, and then relation to the state average. So the program does appear to have...
yeah, let me add to that turnaround actually equals to savings. It's a very cost-effective program. The savings are showing up in other areas of the budget. So they've done a fine job. Lyle, Paul,
Can we get them down here on TV?
I think that,
that's good.
I can't remember where I saw this, and it was, I'm pretty sure it was just today, where not that many years ago, there were like 20% of kids, I think it was literacy, and now it's 3% or 1%. I can't remember where I saw that number, that data.
he gave that out. He said 25%.
At grade 3?
And it's down to...
Yeah, he cited a statistic that was similar, where the level of illiteracy had
by the third grade.
Almost disappeared.
Yeah.
We've been working very hard on that.
So those were just a few things I wanted to point out to you in this draft, and so if you take a look at it, and then we'll have more discussion on the next meeting.
And then if I could answer your question, David, or a little earlier, I just took a second to pull up that file. So you had asked about other benefits. So I see how the program was set up. The big number there, 245,000. It's probably the one that caught your eye.
Actually, that insurance cost.
Okay, the 245,000 is the 7.65% of the teacher salary, the 2.3 million, and the para educator salary, the 686, and the substitute's salary of 140,000. So that's
the federal tax.
That's the federal, the employer share of the federal tax, and then the health and dental is also related to that teacher group of both the teacher group associated with those schools.
So, well, I mean, I still don't understand that part. I understand the FICA, but at the 11,000 there for dental insurance, and I look up at Oak Grove, and it's, almost 11,000 for the school there, so I'm like, whose dental insurance is that, or whose life insurance and 403Bs and stuff?
Okay.
Because those are more along the line, well, the course reimbursement is obviously a more global looking number, but, and classified's obvious, but it looks like somebody's dental insurance, or some person's is in there that's not, with the schools.
Okay, and you're in the, can you just read a number and I get
Dental insurance, 11,155.
11,155, okay. Oh, there it is, down there, I see. Okay, so you see, you're saying you see a oak at 10,512, and then you're seeing another 11,155. That's what you're.
Yes.
That's a question.
I'm just wondering
who is the additional 11?
Page 2.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Broken out by schools, and then all of a sudden.
It's
Yeah.
fine with me, when you get it, let me know. I just was
Yeah.
curious.
I'm pretty sure it's the paraeducators.
Mhm.
See where the paraeducator says
Yeah, the
other
benefits there.
/ other,
Yeah.
and I don't see the benefits for them. So
Right, so that's probably what
I'm pretty sure it is them. Yeah. But I'll confirm.
Okay, thanks.
Yep.
So, do you have something else to say, Robert?
Nope, I think, take a look, do some homework, study it, come back with questions.
We're gonna be testing this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They
Yes,
tested us
we
on
are.
formative.
Question, is it gonna be formative or,
And informative to make sure we understand.
So, is the goal then, once we have set numbers, do we have a goal? Because there's
Like a
assumptions,
target
not target date, but a target amount, or a target increase, or a non-increase, or?
I think we were charged with going forward with trying to maintain a level service. And then seeing where those numbers fell. Am I correct in that?
And then
Yeah.
looking at it afterwards?
Yeah, not looking at, and not cutting anything we have, and not adding anything, but just seeing what the numbers were with the projected increases in salaries, benefits, costs, even utilities, and all those. And then we look at our,
I had 2 questions. Andy, there was much discussion last year about the White House. And then we had to, right after we decided not to do a roof, it started to leak and we did a roof anyway. What's the deal with the White House now? Was that enough to keep it? There was much more that you were thinking.
Well,
So did you put anything in here?
It's in the 5-year plan. We write 5-year plans. It's in the 5-year plan, second year, to look at replacing it and building a building.
So it's not in for this year? The
No.
roof would get us through, you feel like, for another year? And then it would be?
Well, the roof is
rebuilding?
fine. There's some other things that we do to maintain it. So we think we're okay at this point. But I think it behooves the board and the district to put this on a schedule to look at the possibilities out there. We bought it used. It's a module that has a
Set line.
life expectancy that, we're approaching, so at some point it'll have to be replaced. So if you wants to do it in a way that's intentional and with a fair amount of discussion and thought about what the need is and then the most efficient way to do it.
did the heavy snow cause any major leaks in it this last week?
No, we rake the roof on that building regularly.
That would preclude major leakage.
Yeah.
And then my other question is around this time, Ron, that we've discussed early retirements other times.
Yeah.
When does that discussion come up, or are we?
We've had a discussion, I think we should probably, when we do our next review,
Talk about that
talk
more?
about that more.
Just didn't want to forget.
Yeah.
Do we have a contract for fuel oil already for next year? I know we got one for this year, right?
No, it was a 1-year bid.
Oh, it was?
Yeah.
So we'll be getting I'm just wondering if we can project.
Well, we're hoping to have the pellet boiler in place and reduce that line item, but you see, I
So I meant in terms because of the drop in fuel costs.
yeah, I didn't make that assumption yet, just because,
It's never safe to do.
right, it's a good thing we didn't, you know, in fiscal year
Right.
15, so. Let's see, I've had a meeting with Stevens and Associates about moving forward with a bid process. Probably won't have something in time that would give us an assurance one way or the other.
And did, well, maybe this is just for the energy committee, but any news about that alternative option for chip boiler instead of the pellet?
I did ask Stevens and Associates and Kohler and Lewis to talk with Pierce Morse, I think it is. And so that they're going to get back to me as to the results of that, and I'll share that with you, the Energy Committee. But I made it clear the board has made a significant investment in the design and the plan. I've talked with Andy about making sure that we can move ahead within the site constraints that are there, and you know, we're not interested in starting from square one.
That's for sure.
So they understand that those are our priorities.
It also struck me as I was looking through that proposal that the number that we got from him didn't include the new backup boiler that's going to go in, which is significant cost.
Yeah.
So it may not be worth even looking at. Never mind trying to get the chips into the dumpster, the hamper, whatever it is. Hopper. Thank you, not hamper.
Right into the hopper.
Yeah, hamper works.
Any other questions on the budget from anybody right now? No? You were looking through your paper, so?
No, we're meeting again next week. So,
Can we see the principal requests? We asked for those last year. It was helpful to have those that went into building this.
Other than
Sure. Yeah.
Well, they were on colored paper. I remember these.
Yeah, we used
Colored paper, so I could figure it out.
Different colors for each school.
It was, yeah.
blue salmon and yellow
Yes,
salmon
that's
and
it.
green.
Green. Green, the green is green. Okay, so if there's no other question on the budget, Frank, I think we all want to extend our utmost thanks for all the work that you're doing on this. And principals too, I know there's lots of background that goes on before we even see this. Okay, so then that brings us to the last item on the agenda, is that right? Board vacancy.
So I made copies of a little history of board vacancies. I don't have enough for everyone, but the board members.
You can share.
I think we've had one for the principals. And those are for Sharon.
Mark and I can share.
Yeah,
Well, we can share.
Okay, great, thank you.
Mark can't see it otherwise.
So I asked Barb to just kind of give me a sense of kind of recent vacancies, and I'm not going to go through the whole list here, but as you can see, 2004, there were, and that was where the rules at that time was that the board made a recommendation to the select board. The legislation changed that, so the board appointed their own candidate, and so that's based on the charter change for the town and also the state legislative change. So that gives you a little of that. Bob did remind me that the concept of when we post this, we put a please respond by date, and that's just, you know, to make sure that we get some interest. And we have had cases where in the past we've had other people show some interest, but in the last case, in vacancy number 4, we had some interest either through emails or through conversations, but they didn't really follow through. applying for it. So at this point, we have 3 to 4 interested people. There's one person that would like to meet with me that attended the forums, and I think they would like to get a little bit more background about the district, and we just haven't been able to get our calendars together.
He actually I called to see if he was going to apply before the first city, so he can't. He still wants to meet with you.
Yeah.
But he can't.
Yeah. So, I'll have that discussion. So I think at this point, what we will do is, I don't have the letters with me tonight, but what I will do is get you those letters, and then what we should do is set up a schedule for, I would say, December 17th meeting, where we can have a brief interview with each candidate. And then we would make a selection.
Are we going to have time at the December 17th, seeing as though there's the district meeting?
Yeah, I think,
afterwards?
I don't know,
I think we
what's
need
on
much
our
time
work
to
plan?
talk about the budget.
yeah, I think our work plan really just applies to the budget,
I think so.
which I think will be in pretty good shape in terms of, information that we have and kind of responding to your inquiries and kind of thinking where we want to end up with the budget based on revenues and that sort of thing that Frank will have by then. So I don't think that's going to be a long, protracted discussion. We will have another date in January, the first meeting in January, to continue with that budget discussion. I would think by then we're going to have more information from the state when they finalize, the numbers that they provide. So I would think we're going to dedicate more of our January meetings.
All right.
I think the December
Ron,
meeting.
the technology report was going to be on the 17th.
Yeah, I think we can still do that.
Ron, can I say something about the board elections in regards to Head Start? Head Start, we are exempt from this clause because the board is publicly elected positions. But in the rest of the Head Start world, the Head Start performance standards ask that there be a legal, a financial, and an early childhood expert on the governing board, which you are. And what I said in the refunding application was that these are, we are exempt, but that on Policy Council, we try and represent those perspectives as much as possible. And so I'm just throwing that out if you have competition for these slots, and just to know that that's the federal perspective and that could be helpful to us ultimately.
I asked Layla Taylor just to give some information about the process, and she outlined in 2 parts. Part 1 below talks about the requirements for filling the vacancy, and Part 2 talks about the board's rights with respect to having any part of the appointment process take place in executive session. So as has been the case when we have multiple candidates, you interview them in open session and then you deliberate in closed session. And there's information here if you want to take a look at that. So,
We can keep these.
yeah, you can keep those. Again, I only made 3 copies. I can make more.
We'll read and memorize. If we can do a formative.
I'll forward a copy to you.
That'll be good. You can keep that one. Okay. And I forward anything that I've gotten to you, so you
Yes.
have all the letters,
Yeah.
and I've copied them already to you coming in.
So we're at 3?
Well, my sense is there'll be 3. I don't know that for sure. Maybe if we can look at December 17th or your calendars to think if, what we try to do is make sure that those people will be available at that time. And if there's a conflict, thinking about other times that you might be available. So,
Are we leaving the application date open, or is that closed?
well, I think, by now, if we have, I'd like to have that follow-up discussion with that person tomorrow. And, I'll know either way whether he's interested or not. But I think the fact that we have 3 interested people is a good thing. And I wouldn't keep it open for any longer period of time because we have to start scheduling interviews with these people. So.
Okay.
So
That
that's-
answer your question?
Yeah.
I thought, I might have misread it, but does it have to be posted for 30 days before you?
Yeah.
It has to be, and Peter resigned before the last forum?
Yes, and it was posted.
It's been in the report.
Yeah. It was posted on November 10th.
So that wouldn't be 30 days.
So you gotta wait till
December
December
1st.
10th,
Yeah,
correct?
yeah.
And so when I saw you were accepting applications until December 1st,
Yeah, I mean, I think it was just to prompt people to get it in, but that is not a deadline.
so they can apply until December 10th,
Yeah.
correct?
That's what it's looking like based on the date when it was posted,
10/10, could that have been a misprint?
November 10th.
Yes, November the 10th was the received, and instead of the 1st of December, it should have been the 10th of December.
Maybe it was
I'm just-
expensive to.
I
put
just-
it in the
I'll
report
confirm
and
that,
do
but,
it.
you know, we'll make sure that we're not cutting off anybody
Yeah.
that's interested.
So it's still open, if I write a story, you're still accepted?
Yeah,
Until the 10th.
yeah.
Well, until the
I'd like
10th,
to
and then
confirm
that's-
that, maybe you can give me a call tomorrow.
Right. And are the people who have applied, is that public? And you tell me tomorrow who has applied?
I wouldn't know everybody at that point.
No, but the 3 people you mentioned, is that public at this point?
I think we'd wait till the 10th, right? So we can.
I'd wait until the thing's closed, but that's what I want to confirm, that date with.
Right. Well, I'm not, right. Oh, but there might be, it might be public, right? Might it not be? Right.
As of the 10th, it would be.
Yeah,
public.
yeah.
Is that what you're asking?
No, it might be public. I don't know if the applicants are public at this point. If they are, then I should have access to who has applied.
Oh, I see. So the question is it public knowledge at this point who has applied?
Correct. And I'll call the Vermont School Board Association tomorrow to find out.
Yeah, I don't know that answer.
Yeah, that's not mentioned in here at all.
I
The
would,
only thing I think of is that if it was published and somebody was thinking about doing it and they saw that 3 people had already signed up, or maybe they knew that one of them was really good, they might not apply, and we would lose potential candidates, but who knows?
I would feel like if it's open till the 10th, then it has to be open for 30 days, then we wouldn't
Well, actually, what
make
it's,
it open until the 30th.
what I'm reading here, unless there's another section, is we're supposed to, within 30 days, by majority vote of those present voting, appoint a qualified person to fill the vacancy.
In 30 days?
Within 30 days of the vacancy, yeah. There's
Where are you
nothing
at?
about listing it. The second page, Steve, towards the bottom. So we already violated the statute.
Well, again, that's why we give the history here, because it's very unusual that you'll fill a position within 30 days. I mean, it just isn't realistic.
Well, besides that, it was Thanksgiving. I mean, it was major holidays going on.
Right.
Jeff?
Well, is it the difference, is the statute says you can't post it or you can't fill it within 30 days?
Neither. It just says you shall. It says when 1 or not 2 occurs within 30 days of the creation, the school board shall, by majority vote, appoint within 30 days. So it doesn't even say anything about the other.
Yeah, I'm not sure where you get the posting information, but I'll check with that.
Well, if this is the boilerplate, we've got 10 days to fix it.
So, no matter what, the person, if we're planning on appointing by January, by the end of January, they have to take out their petitions to run if they were going to
If they
continue
choose to
on.
do that, right.
Or somebody does,
Right,
because
right.
it only goes through voting at the beginning of March.
Right,
And so, after town meeting is when we switch our,
right.
so the person is, whoever we're appointing is only like 6 meetings. And, yeah.
So is it best to try to get other dates from you through email to,
I really don't want more dates. And can we really push for December 17th? This is, I mean, this is a lot going on in December.
Yeah.
I mean, I agree. So we'll plan on doing that.
Besides that, I think it's good for someone who's interested to be on the school board to actually attend the meeting and see how things are. So being at that meeting would be good.
Okay.
And then we'd have to have an executive session after the SU meeting?
Before, we could do before.
Or if we can get it all done.
So that's a meeting where we know we're going to do the tech review, we're going to answer some of your questions on the budget, and then we're going to do interviews, and we're going to keep all the reports.
So to be clear on open meeting law, if we have questions on the budget, we can send those questions by email to you and Frank, and then that would be actually more efficient,
Yeah,
because then the
yeah.
answers would be prepared, right? Behooves us all to
Yeah.
actually read through it then and send any questions over ahead.
Good idea.
Okay, so I don't have anything else. Anybody else? Are we ready for a motion to adjourn?
Go ahead, Mark. So moved.
Second.
And all in favor?
Right.
Usual suspect.
Thank you.